Hi everyone, today's quick fix is all about getting you started with shadow painting. I've drawn a series of circles on the page with a little compass, and this is going to help us just look at how we first use shadow to create a sort of more of a depth and a roundness on a shape, or how you can really sort of make it pop off the page, but also how it relates to its source of light. Now, I talk a lot about shadow mix on here in terms of a colour I use, and all it is a combination of burnt sienna and Prussian blue, and between them they make a lovely spectrum of greys. Obviously the more blue you add, the bluier it gets. The more brown you add, the more brown it gets, funnily enough. So I'm mixing up a nice dilute amount, and we're going to have a play around with these circles on the page. So I've got a size 4 brush and a size 6, and the first thing I'm going to look at up here is looking at when shadow is just purely used to create roundness and depth, to turn a 2D shape into a 3D one. Well, what we do in watercolour is we use the blending technique. So what I'm doing is I'm painting around the edge of this circle, at the inner edge, and I'm going to clean my brush off, and I'm going to draw that colour in, and I'm going to just blot my brush off now because I've got plenty of water and colour on the page. And now all I'm going to do is keep smoothing around, drawing that colour up and on and inwards, keep cleaning my brush off, and soon enough I will have almost closed in on a clear circle, but the colour that started from the outside edge is giving the impression that this has dark edges and a sort of light bounce in the middle, giving a rounded feel to our flat circle. Now, when we have a light source that is actually coming sort of from an angle, or from an angle from the side, we're obviously going to get a shadow cast along the ground, but we're also going to get some kind of shadow forming on the edge of the shape as well. So let's just look at a really basic one. Say our light source is coming from this direction here. That means that the shadow is going to hit this lower side here. So I can pop in a nice sort of crescent moon of shadow, and then clean my brush off because I want to just give it a slightly blended feel. And we're going to look at, in another quick fix, we're going to look at how you paint shadow onto a shape that reflects its own texture. Now this is very nice. It's got a nice smooth blend into the shape. However, we also need the fact that the shadow is casting a line across the floor. So all I do with the same colour, starting from the bottom, squish my brush down, and that's pretty much a nice shape. You can sort of shape it a little more if you want, but essentially your light source is coming from there and you are creating a shadow just with a nice sort of semicircle loop, just from using the angled side of your brush. Now let's have a little look, play around with shadow coming from the other side, but let's have it quite a long cast shadow. So the sun is low in the sky, so quite a lot of this side of the ball is in shadow. Clean off that side of the brush and just smooth it and blend it. If you're ever feeling like it's travelling too far, all you need to do is just blot your brush off, take any wetness away, and that will allow you to almost sort of dry brush. And then from there, casting a long shadow along the ground, And because this is a round ball, the shape of my shadow is slightly reflected in the shape it makes on the ground, so it sort of tapers off and curls. You can see there again. So for your last two circles, you can play around with creating whatever shadow you like for these balls. I'm wondering about doing a really low shadow. Which is almost non-existent. And then one more coming from this side. It's just all about practice, really. So just have a think about how long your shadows are going to be and how simply you can create them on your page, just with the blue and brown shadow mix. And again, if you've got too much on the page, just blot off your brush. And there you go. So there is your introduction to shadow painting.